Hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining us on this webinar series, which is all about delivering engaging advisory services with Fathom. Now, this is going to be a two-part series. For today's session, we're going to be providing a bit of an introduction of Fathom if you haven't heard of us before, and we'll also go through the product, just highlighting some of the key ways that you can use Fathom to streamline business advisory services that you're providing to your clients. And in next week's session, we'll be diving a little bit deeper into Fathom's three-way cash flow forecasting feature, just to show you some of the best practices on how you can create a robust cash flow forecast for your clients, model out future plans, projects, and scenarios, and then provide forecast reports on a regular basis. So if that's of interest to you, definitely recommend signing up for that one next week as well. In terms of the agenda for today's session, we'll cover off a bit of an introduction and overview of Fathom, so who we are, what we do, and why we do it. And then after that, we'll jump straight into the product itself, just to show you guys what the features look like and the ways that you can use this to really add value to your clients. And then after the product demo, we'll just round off the session, highlighting some of the ways that we help partner with you in your journey through business advisory, through training and support. In terms of housekeeping, this webinar is going to run for about 30 minutes in total. So it will be recorded. We'll be sending you a copy of the recording after the session. We aren't going to have a live Q&A session at the end, but if you do have questions throughout the webinar today, feel free to just shoot them through in the Q&A feature or in the chat box. We've got some of our team on standby just to help out with some of those questions. Great, so just a brief introduction about myself to start with. My name is James Lin. I'm an account manager with Fathom. I work really closely with our accounting customers just to help them utilize Fathom really effectively for their firm. And I work with them to grow their advisory offerings with existing and new clients as well. So just jumping into this quote here, this is a quote from the president of the Chartered Accountants Australia, New Zealand. It's really just highlighting the fact that accountants are really uniquely placed to be able to add incredible value to the business clients that you're working with. We're seeing more and more accountants investing into business advisory services that they're able to offer to their clients. And we're seeing time and time again, if it's done right, the clients are getting really valuable advice from someone that they feel is a trusted advisor. And this is what we aim to do as well. It's the reason that we're in business, which is to provide clarity and confidence to the courageous people behind every business. We recognize that there's always someone that's stepped out of their comfort zone, they've taken a risk, they've taken a chance, and we just want to be able to support those people as much as possible. And I think this really aligns quite closely with your purpose as accountants and advisors as well, which is to really support the businesses that you're working with, the clients, as well as the people behind those businesses. So a bit more about us as a company. We were founded in Brisbane, Australia, just in one of the founders' garage. That's how it started out. And now we've expanded into a global team with offices in the US, the UK, and Philippines as well. We're a top-rated app for some of the major accounting systems, so Xero, QuickBooks, and MYOB, with over hundreds of five-star reviews. And we've been in the market for just over 10 years now, so we just had our 10-year anniversary, and we're trusted by over 60,000 organizations all across the world in 80 different countries. So in terms of how Fathom works, essentially we're a business intelligence tool that's designed to help you find the answers to critical business questions so that you can effectively make decisions for the business going forward. So Fathom integrates with the source accounting system, whether that's Xero, QuickBooks, or MYOB, and then pulls in that accounting data to transform it into visual insights, forecasts, and dashboards, which you can then use to facilitate more meaningful conversations with your clients going forward. So Fathom is a fully integrated platform with 5 different core features. So you've got the analysis and KPI dashboards. Those are interactive and dynamic. They're really good for presenting the numbers to your clients, whether that's in a monthly or quarterly meeting, or even if you're recording a quick Loom video to explain what their numbers look like for the month. We've also got management reports that are fully customizable. You can then save them as your own templates and then automate them into the future, or you can even copy them across to different clients to help you save time as you bring more clients onto the platform. We've got budgeting and forecasting features. So this is where you can start to project the client's numbers into the future to understand what's going to happen in 12, 24, 36 months, as well as layer on top of that different plans, projects, and scenarios. And then you've got multi-entity features, so things like consolidations of multiple entities, including eliminations of intercompany transactions, as well as benchmarking to allow you to compare and rank multiple entities against each other. So that's a bit of an introduction of Fathom. What we'll do now is just jump directly into the Fathom product itself to give you an idea of some of these core features and provide you with some insights on how other accounting firms are utilizing those features to help them streamline their business advisory services. All right, so just switching over to the Fathom product, what you're seeing on the screen is the main dashboard in Fathom, where you've got a list of all the connected entities that you've imported into your Fathom account. So you can see in my case, I have a couple of Xero files coming through. I have some Excel files, and I also have a consolidated group of 9 entities at the moment. So we can also consolidate your entities together. And when you hover your mouse over any of these consolidations or Xero, Excel, QuickBooks, or MyOb files, you've got access to the core features of Fathom. So here I have the analysis section. These are fantastic for presenting to the clients. If you have a meeting, maybe a monthly or quarterly catch-up session, fantastic way to just run through the numbers. You can go through various dashboards covering every aspect of the client's business. And you can also click on any metrics to drill down into more information just to provide some further context. You've also got the reporting section. So this is where you can set up custom management reports, save them as your own templates, and then automate them into the future going forward. You can also copy them between clients as well. So if you want to set up a master template, for example, and use that for all new clients going forward as kind of the starting point. And then you've got the forecasting section. So this is a fantastic way to project the client's data. You can take the historical 12 months, use that information to calculate what the next 12, 24, 36 months will be. You can then layer on different plans and projects and also scenarios that the client's looking to run to really understand what the cash flow and profit will look like for that client going forward. You can always add in new companies just using the green add button in the top right. That's just over here. And we can select the company to add. You can see here we can also create a consolidated group or create a benchmark group as well. But if we click on company, we can select to import our data from QuickBooks, Xero, MYOB, or Excel. For now, let's jump into the analysis section. So just show you what that all looks like and how you can best utilize the analysis tools to start providing business advisory services, especially meetings or conversations with the clients using some of these dashboards. So just in terms of navigation, on the left-hand side, you can see we've got a list of different tools available to us. So this is really designed to help you structure your meetings with your clients. You can start high level with the KPIs, move into things like profitability, cash flow, start observing some growth trends, and then you can start setting some goals moving forward with the client using the Goal Seek tool. So this first one here is called the KPI tool. It's just showing you a list of all of the KPIs that you've set up for this particular client that you'd like to track going forward. So nice visual table for you. Fathom provides you with a range of default KPIs. These are financial metrics where we're pulling in the data from your profit and loss and balance sheet. So, typical metrics that every business would want to track, things like gross profit margin, operating profit, profitability ratio, etc. And these range from profit metrics to activity, cash flow, efficiency, and more. But you can see at the bottom here, I have a category called leading KPIs. And this is a section that I've created where I've actually set up some custom KPIs for this particular client. So you do have the ability to actually generate your own KPIs, and you can pull in external data for those non-financials either through Excel or Google Sheets. And then you can also generate formulas off the back of that as well. So Fathom is really used by any business in any industry. You can bring in external industry data to be able to track that together with the financials. In terms of playing around or manipulating the data, in the top right of these analysis tools, you have a period selector. So we can select any historical month that we'd like to choose that we've imported into our Fathom account. We can also roll this up into quarterly or annual results as well. And that includes month to date, quarter to date, and year to date. And then if you're talking with a client and they're starting to ask you questions, maybe they don't know what profitability ratio means, or they want to know why revenue hasn't hit the target for the month, you can actually click on any of these KPIs to drill down into more information. So you've got all of this information at your fingertips. Your clients ask you questions, you pull up the information, you've got the description, you've got the formula with the exact figures for the month, and you've got a trend chart of historical figures as well. So really handy, just facilitating those conversations you're going to be having with your clients. This next tool is still looking at your KPIs, just from a more visual perspective. So it's kind of like a KPI wheel where we're listing out all of those KPIs and sorting that by the different categories that we have. We can see at a high level that 65% of our KPIs are doing well so far. But we can sort this by different perspectives to really get a deeper level of analysis here. So let's sort this by importance level. So we can customize the importance level, and now we can see immediately that while we're doing quite well, 65% of the KPIs are on track. Actually, both of our critical KPIs are not hitting the target. So this, provides us with a deeper level of insight. We know where we need to focus our time and attention. And again, we can click on any of these KPIs to drill down into more information, start digging into the exact figures that are coming through to understand, why hasn't this KPI met the target. Moving on to the next tool, the profitability tool. This is kind of a break-even analysis. So you can see the break-even point right in the middle there where revenue crosses the variable costs. You can also see the current revenue levels compared against the fixed and variable cost as well. And that difference there is the operating profit that the business is currently receiving. If you would like to drill into the numbers a bit further, again, you can click on these metrics here. So we've got the top 10 revenue or top 10 expense and cost of sales accounts. And that's going to help identify, where those costs or expenses are coming from. The next one's a great one to be used together with a profit tool to help explain, the difference between profit and cash flow for the client. As you can see, all of these tools are very visual, they're animated. So hopefully your clients are really going to get a positive response on receiving or looking at their business numbers in such a visual perspective. But this cash flow tool is a waterfall chart showing the inflows and outflows of cash as it moves through the business. We're focusing on the operating cash flow, investing cash flow, and financing cash flow, and then you can kind of follow along the storyline of the inflows and outflows of cash as it moves down to the net cash flow. I'll jump over to the Goal Seek tool next. This is probably one of the most popular analysis tools that we have. This one helps to answer the question of how do we get there. So suppose your client is looking to increase their earnings before interest and tax. Currently that's sitting at 171,000, but they want to increase this to 250,000. They're quite ambitious. So that's almost a 50% increase there. So Fathom's going to break this down into its components. You can see a list of all the drivers that are affecting this particular metric. So we can say, what if we increase prices across the board by around 5%? Prices are increasing for goods and services. Maybe the client hasn't increased their prices for 5 or 10 years. So this is potentially a strategy that we could employ that will quite heavily affect the progress towards our earnings before interest and tax goal. The client might push back. They might say, look, 5% is too much. How about 2%? Or maybe we can't increase prices. So this is where Fathom's kind of interactive tools become very handy, because you can work in step with the client to find an optimal strategy. So maybe we need to increase our sales volumes by 5%. Let's think of some strategies around that. maybe the client, they can identify some costs and expenses that they know they're able to cut out of their business. So together you can work together to put together a business strategy. And the great thing is, just down at the bottom left here, you can always download this into a one-page PDF document. So after a meeting with the client, after you've talked through the numbers, you can pop this into a PDF, either print it off into hard copy or send it to your client through email. And this is what we discussed today. These are the action points. Let's think of some strategies and then come back in a month's time to see where we're at. So fantastic way to kind of provide a deliverable after the meeting. Next up, let's look at the report center. So we're going to have a look at some of the custom reporting available, where you can use one of our existing templates to create your own custom report, change it around, save it as a template, and then automate it into the future going forward. So this here is the report center of Fathom, where you can manage all of the reports for your client. You can see on the left-hand side, we have our draft reports, published reports, and then we have some templates as well. So custom templates that you've saved and would like to reuse yourself. And predefined templates is a fantastic place to start. These are a range of reports that we provide for you automatically. So, when you import your data, you can immediately come to this template section and pop out a report from one of Fathom's templates. I'll open up a report that I have created here just to show you what a report would look like after it's been customized. So we're in the online version of the report. Fathom's reports can be viewed either online, which is what we're doing right now, or you can download it to PDF and either send it to your client through email or print it off into hard copy. You can see that we've got the ability to customize the logo as well as the background image, and that's the same for the PDF version as well. You can really, make it a bespoke report that's personalized for your client. We've got some custom text coming through, so these are just text boxes that I've included in my report. Just wanted to highlight that you do have the ability to add comments to the reports. So if you want, you can invite the clients into Fathom, give them access to published reports, and actually leave comments for each other on the report. The client might look at a chart, have some questions around it. You can then log into Fathom and answer those questions in the report directly. So a fantastic way to kind of, have a back and forward with the relevant data at your fingertips right in front of you. In terms of customizing the report, you can always edit it further. So I'll just switch into editing mode. You can see in our text, we actually have some placeholders coming through. So these numbers are going to automatically pull in from our accounting system, but we can easily, rearrange the report just by dragging and dropping. We can resize by dragging and dropping as well. So it's very, very quick and easy to modify the report that you're using. In terms of the charts and graphs, again, we can resize them. We can double click to edit, and then we've got options to change the variables. So maybe I want to include my expenses in my report, in my chart. And let's change that to a bar chart as well. We'll change the colors to align that with the firm's branding. And let's roll this up a little bit. That's too much data coming through. So let's make that yearly results. Perfect. So you can see there's a lot of different options available to you. You can play around with these charts and graphs to get the metrics that you're looking for. In terms of the metrics available to you, you've got everything available in terms of your chart of accounts, your profit and loss and balance sheet, as well as any custom KPIs that you've set up in the settings as well. In terms of building out the report, a lot of this information is from our standard templates, but you do have the ability to include different text boxes just on the left-hand side here, different charts and graphs, over 90 different charts and graphs, and tables and financial statements. So ranging from comparative profit and loss, balance sheet and cash flow statements, all the way to trended results over time, where you've got maybe a rolling 12-month table, and you can also include forecasting data in your reports as well. So anything you're looking for, just find it in the left-hand menu and then drag and drop it into your report, and you can start working from there. So that is the reporting. Once you've created a custom report for your client, what you can do is save that as a template. And then, as I mentioned, you can schedule that to automatically set up a new report for you each month. And if you recall, the data is automatically coming from your accounting system. So it flows from the accounting system into Fathom, into the custom report template that you've set up. So, if you can think about having 50 clients or 100 clients on Fathom, doing that outside without a bespoke tool is going to take you a long time. But with Fathom, set up the template, integrate the data, and the reports are being created for you on a monthly or quarterly basis. Going forward, let's look at the forecasting section. So Fathom's forecasting, just to provide a bit of background, it's a 3-way cash flow forecast, and we're looking 3 years into the future. So just to navigate a little bit, you can see we're currently looking at a profit and loss. We've got our revenue accounts coming through, cost of sales, expenses. We've also got the balance sheet available. We can look at the cash flow statement for the next 3 years. And then there's an option to include drivers. So these are external metrics that you would like to use to drive the forecasted numbers. So the idea around the forecast is build a baseline. That's essentially, what is the business going to look like if all things were held equal? So based on the historical data, if we scroll to the left, we got that historical data coming through. Maybe we can set up some rules. Maybe we want to use something like actuals from last year, or average results from previous periods. So we can easily click on any of these cells, and that's going to open up showing you a visual depiction of what that account looks like going forward. So you can see in this case, the last 12 months, as well as the next 3 years of results going forward. And you can also see how it's being calculated. So we can always change these accounts and the calculation. We've got rules like, as I mentioned, average results. You can do actuals from last year. You can even build out your own formulas using drivers. So a lot of different options available for you, but essentially the idea is you want to build out business as usual. What is the baseline of the forecast? Following on from that, there is a section on the left-hand side, this third tab here called micro forecasts. So this is really the next step of building out the forecast, is to start layering on top different plans and projects that your clients might have. So I'll just show you a couple of examples. You can see some of them here. We might have a marketing campaign that the client wants to run. They might have a few people that they would like to hire into the business, maybe purchasing assets or taking out loans. So these are really common business events that maybe aren't modeled out in the forecast as of yet, but we want to include them to make sure that our future plans have those numbers available. So within each of these micro forecasts, I'll just click on one of them. You can see, as the name suggests, it's like a mini forecast. So it's a separate thing where we've modeled out all of the financial impacts of that particular business event. So we've modeled out, the impacts to our marketing expense, the impacts that we're expecting to affect our direct sales. And then we can view all of this information on a business roadmap. So this is a high level overview of all of those plans and projects. Down at the bottom, we can see our cash on hand. So this is always available to us. And now what we can do is actually start playing around with the timing of these events. So for our marketing campaign, we can actually see cash flow is in the red in November and December. So maybe it means we should move our marketing campaign, into the future a couple of months. Maybe it also means we should take our loan and make that coincide with that marketing campaign. So you can start to really, play around with the live data that's all backed by, the financial models, move them around, and that's going to shift all those hundreds of financial figures that you've modeled out. And it's always keeping that cash flow or profit top of mind. Final thing I'll show you in the product today is the scenario section. So once you've built out, your baseline, what is going to happen, business as usual, you've modeled out different projects and plans that are going to sit on top of that baseline, we can then start exploring different scenarios that could potentially occur in the future. So you can see a few I have here. I've got a best case scenario. You might want to model out a worst case scenario where costs and expenses are going up. maybe revenues are falling. I've got one here where I've modeled out an additional 5% inflation. So maybe my costs and expenses are going up 5% as the prices of petrol and necessary goods and services go up. But what this allows us to do is essentially create different strategies for these different scenarios. So in my best case scenario, I'll just click on this. This is kind of like a completely different forecast, where maybe I've modeled out an increase of 20% to my revenue. And because of that, I can have a completely different strategy for my micro forecasts. Because my cash flow is looking good because it's the best case scenario. I don't actually have to run that marketing campaign. And I don't actually have to take out a loan because I'm not short on cash. So based on what could potentially happen in the future, those kind of macro level scenarios, you can build out optimal strategies for them and then have them all sitting in your forecast so that no matter what happens going forward, you've built out a premium or optimum strategy for that particular scenario. So that's the idea around scenarios, and I appreciate that's a lot of information, but hopefully it gives you an idea of how Fathom tools are used in conjunction with each other. So the reports are fantastic for delivering automated reporting on a regular, monthly or quarterly basis. The analysis section is great for those catch-up sessions you might be having with the client. A lot of accountants in practice are scheduling monthly or quarterly sessions, or even recording videos for the clients to look through. And then you've got the forecasting section where you can build out a forecast so the client has an idea of what's going to happen in the future. So now, just to round things off, we'll switch back to the slides. So as you can see, there's a lot of features within the platform, so I do understand if it seems a bit overwhelming or daunting to use Fathom effectively at this stage. And this is why we really emphasize on partnering together with you rather than just letting you figure things out on your own. So if you do get started on Fathom, we have a 14-day free trial period where you can test out all the features yourself. And then we have a dedicated engagement specialist who will be on hand to help you set things up for the first few clients. Then once you're happy with the platform and you've decided to go ahead, we can then work with you to set up a custom training roadmap for yourself and for your staff members so that everybody in the firm is on board with utilizing Fathom effectively for your clients. We find this to be a really great experience for your staff members to be involved in this kind of work as well. And the roadmaps really help to accelerate the adoption and the rollout of Fathom across the firm. Really helps us speed things up and smooths out that journey. And then finally, whenever you're using Fathom, you've got access to our award-winning customer support teams. We just recently won the National Award for the Customer Service Organization of the Year for small businesses, and there were over 600 applications to these awards this year. So we're very proud of our ongoing commitment and support to our customers. And just as a reminder as well, we are having the second part of this webinar series. So this is going to be a deep dive on the forecasting tool. We only really just scratched the surface today. So if you are interested in forecasting, make sure to register to that one. We'll be sending out registration links after the webinar, as well as links to that landing page and also a recording of today's session as well. So if you guys have any questions going forward, please feel free to take down my email address and shoot those through to me. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time and attention today, and really look forward to seeing all of you in next week's session. Thank you.